Hello everyone. So today is August 12th and this is my third day in quarantine. And today I'll be walking you through the arrival process at Incheon Airport. It will be a very interesting video and there is definitely a lot of information, so please bear with me. I apologize in advance for not really including that many videos. It was really stressful during this part of the trip, but I'll do my best to try to illustrate the process and also give you really a better understanding of how to navigate this really stressful but necessary process during the pandemic. Keep in mind that I may not know everything about the process going through the airport or going through immigration, so I apologize in advance if I leave any questions unanswered, but I'll try my best to just go through the process of walking you through the airport all the way to your quarantine site. So here we go. Before you even arrive at Incheon Airport, you want to make sure that you have 4 papers filled out. And these papers are given to you by the flight attendant on your flight. The 4 pieces of paper are the arrival card, the traveler record declaration, the traveler declaration form, and the health declaration form. Of these two, I would say the traveler declaration form and then the health declaration form are the most important, so it's the white and yellow paper. The other two are important as well, but they're not as essential during the first few parts of the immigration process, so just keep that in mind and have those documents ready. For filling out these pieces of paper, I guess the most important thing is that you want to make sure that you're putting the quarantine address on those pieces of paper. The reason being is that if you put down the address of the place you're staying after, they may ask you to just rewrite it or just fill it out again just because they want the quarantine address. To make things a little bit easier, you can just always clarify that when you're handing over your document and you have your quarantine address on it, just state that this is where you're quarantining. But if you're an exchange student, you can also state that after this quarantine, I'll be studying at so-and-so university. Okay, so once you arrive at the airport, there are 4 stations, and these stations are probably like the most intense part of this whole process. The people working at the airport may not necessarily speak good English, so just try to be patient and accommodating. It's very stressful for everyone, so just do your best to be patient, and also if they have any questions, try your best to answer it and try to talk to any workers or any fellow students if you have any questions as well. So the first station is not too bad of a station. You will first encounter a sign that will tell you the documents that you need in this station. I don't remember them exactly, but it should be the 2 papers that I talked about earlier, the yellow paper and the white paper. You should also have your passport ready as well as your PCR test. In this station, they will check over your PCR test just to make sure it matches with your passport. And then they will also just ask you if you know about the quarantine rules. And this is a part where they may ask if you are quarantine exempt from this whole process. And for me, I said no because all students, even though we're exchange students and may be vaccinated in the US, it does not count. We still need to be going through the quarantine process. So if the worker asks you if you're exempt from quarantine, the most likely answer would be no. This is also the part where they ask to check your temperature, and usually it should be okay, but just a quick reminder, like if you are wearing a lot of clothes on the airplane, to take them off and try to cool down before this process. If your temperature is too high, they may ask you to step aside and also recheck it at a later time, which may delay the process. So just keep that in mind. So for the second station, this station was probably the hardest one for me. And so just try your best to be understanding during this portion of the process. But it also may not be stressful, so it may just depend on the worker you're working with or just like the situation that you're in. So for this station, they'll ask you to download an application. They should have a banner up there which states like how to download the application, and you'll basically download it and ask the worker to help you fill it out while you're waiting in line to talk to the workers at this booth. The table should be like the table is like separated by like a plastic wall, and then they're like separated into like little booths, and there should be like chairs of 2 for each of the booths. So you may be sitting down to another person who may be questioned by another worker next to you. For this part specifically, they will ask you to show a little bit more paperwork regarding like your quarantine stay and just like the quarantine rules. This is also the part where they ask for a Korean phone number, and this is the part that kind of tripped me up. So for this part, I specifically gave them the number of the host for my quarantine stay, and what happened was, because it was really early in the morning, the host never responded. So luckily, very thankfully, my worker was very patient, and I just have to thank him again for just being really patient throughout the whole process. It took maybe 10 to 15 minutes of me trying to call the host with no avail. So it was pretty stressful, and I just was like very apologetic to the worker, but he didn't mind, and I'm just like really thankful for that. So during this part, for the Korean phone number, you should have the number of the phone number that you activated with your own Korean SIM card, or the number of a friend. This is because they just want to make sure that they're able to contact you during the quarantine process, and just know that you're able to get contacted through by someone in Korea. So it should not be too stressful. Just make sure to have like a number prepared, or multiple Korean numbers prepared in the case they do ask for your phone number. Because during this process, some people also may not be asked to give a Korean phone number, but it really depends on the worker and the situation you're in. So just try your best, and don't stress out about it. Another thing to note, for the phone number, you have to give a number that probably begins with 010, because my friend tried the school number for Yonsei University and they would not accept it for whatever reason. I'm not sure why, but that's just something to keep in note. So the number should be a number that they can call and someone can pick up and respond. So just something to note. After you're finished with this station, they'll give you your health certificate, which I have in this image right here, and then you'll be able to move on to the next station. The third station will be just asking you about like why you're staying in Korea, and also like this part was relatively simple though. So as long as you have like the paperwork to show like why you're in Korea and like what you're doing, so whether you're traveling or you're studying abroad, like this is the part where you just give them the documents. And it was relatively simple just because the lady was just took the documents and just typed out a document for me. So that was pretty simple. So I edited the video and I talked to my friend, and she remembered specifically like what happened at the third station. So for this station, they'll actually like type out the information they see on your visa or the documents that you provide, and then they'll provide you with these 2 documents. I'll put them over here. I don't remember specifically if you need to show these documents to anyone, but these are the documents they provide, and these documents you can be used for maybe the later parts of the immigration process, or they're just for your reference. So yeah. Then the 4th station is the typical station, and this is the part where I started filming. I apologize again for not filming the earlier portions. So this station, they'll just be asking you about where you're staying, and then they'll also take your fingerprint and also take a picture of you for the records. And then this is also the part where they give you your entry of confirmation, and this is a really small piece of paper, but you need to have it when you exit the airport and just during your time in Korea. So please make sure to keep a hold of this paper, keep it in a folder, or keep it somewhere safe. You don't want to lose it. I wished I was able to give you a little bit more details about like what the specific questions were for each station, but I don't remember. I apologize. But after this portion, it should be relatively simple. You will go to baggage claim, where you're able to pick up your baggage. And you should be able to spot it easily if you have some kind of bandana or sticker on your luggage. And then when you exit the airport, this is when you will give your traveler record declaration. So this is the long slip piece of paper, and that is which is the long piece of paper. So that paper is not really asked for during the whole immigration process, so you will just give that paper. And for me, they never ask for the arrival card, so your arrival card will just be kept with you at all times. For this portion, I'll be talking about transportation from the airport to the health center or to your quarantine site. The reason why I say like those two is because you can either go to your quarantine site first or the health center depending on the situation you're in or what you're trying to do. For international students, there'll be like an area where you can actually sit and you can wait to figure out whether you're going to take the taxi or the bus. The general rule is that the taxi is a little bit more expensive, but it's a little bit faster, and you can go directly to your quarantine site to either drop off luggage or also just stop by the quarantine site first if the health center is closed. Bus will be used in the case that you want to go to the health center directly or you cannot go to your quarantine site immediately. So those are two things to note. For specifically taxi, the price of it can vary from 70,000 won to 150,000 won depending on the size of the vehicle and how many people are in the vehicle. But if you have more people in the vehicle, you can honestly split the price and it will not be too bad. And the size of the vehicle can go up to honestly a SUV size. So that's just something to note. So don't worry about having too little space to store luggage. For the bus, it will go directly to the health center, and this is where the Ajumma really walked me through the process of like what health center to go through. For me, I went to Sodaemun Health Center, and the price for the bus was 16,000 won. So it was not too bad, and it was a little bit slower compared to the taxi, but for the price it was not bad, and yeah. Okay, so now you're at the health clinic, and the health clinic is relatively straightforward, but I'll just walk you through the process just to make it a little bit easier and you can know what to expect. So for the health clinic, please be patient. Korea right now is going through a spike in cases, so there may be a lot of people testing, so try your best to be patient and understanding that it may take a while to get your tests done. Another thing to note, when you're at the health clinic, don't forget to ask for a bag to get your trash bags to store your trash in during your quarantine, and also to get a thermometer to test your temperature. This bag is not, they may not hand it out depending on whether you request it or not, so it's always good to just request it and just have that little extra thing to be able to make your quarantine a little bit easier. But for some quarantine locations, they will provide it for you, so if you don't have the bag, don't stress out about it, but it's also, it doesn't hurt to get the bag, so. Recommendation throughout this whole process would be to try to get quarantine at Yonsei. This is advice from a friend, but just because the process is just a lot easier when you get quarantine done at Yonsei University. The quarantine is a lot cheaper compared to the government, and it's also really convenient because once you move in, you do not have to move out. Also, with Yonsei University, they'll be able to contact the health center for you, and then you can travel in a group to the health center. So at least there's like a kind of like a group there to help you and just accompany you throughout this whole process. So my friend definitely recommends doing Yonsei quarantine. And yeah, that's basically it. From there, you should be able to get to your quarantine site, and hopefully it's a relatively like easy process after that. Hopefully you can enjoy your 14 days in quarantine and not stress out too much. I know this process can be really daunting, especially because like when you're in another country, it may feel very foreign to you. So I tried my best to just walk you through the whole process. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it down in the comments, and I'll try my best to respond and answer it to the best of my abilities. And yeah, I hope to talk to you all soon. Bye!